I like this move. I think the Pelicans is a much better spot for Dejounte Murray. I don't know if it works with Brandon Ingram, but I think we're kind of seeing the writing on the wall that Brandon Ingram is likely out in New Orleans as well. Dejounte Murray was a triple-double machine when he was in San Antonio. Everything got suppressed playing in that backcourt with Trae Young. This is such a better opportunity for him to now be back with really a traditional 2 with C.J. McCollum in that backcourt, even though Murray's kind of like a combo guard, but he can play the 1 well enough. Yeah. I think this is a really good spot for him. And I'll say this now, Dejounte Murray, I'm back all in on triple-doubles on a regular basis for him this season, because in San Antonio, I would bet that on, or points, rebounds, and assists, taking the over. I think this is a great spot to get back on Dejounte Murray props this fall.
Just like dimes from Dejounte to Zion.
Yeah.
Who else is going to be on this team? Like, when is Brandon Ingram going to be traded? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because Atlanta was linked to also Brandon Ingram. So I kind of thought that was going to be the trade, and the fact that Atlanta didn't take Brandon Ingram back was really interesting.
You think there's any chance that they hold on to Ingram and they move CJ instead now that they have their lead guard they've been looking for, though?
I think Ingram's gone.
He's got to be gone?
Because they said they don't want to pay Ingram. That's the problem. He's on an expiring, and they don't want to give him what he wants.
And boy, did he mail it in the playoffs at the end. That was a guy that was ready to get out of New Orleans.
And in the in-season tournament.
He
was basically literally like Mario when Mario's going to Florida, but at the press conference before the in-season tournament game against the Lakers.
Now, I would take Brandon Ingram in Chicago, if that's a possibility.
You guys
could probably get him.
You should probably tank. Don't go doing that. That's not.
I like Brandon Ingram still. I do.
Yeah, but don't you want to lose games? Do you know what the next 2 drafts are, talent-wise?
Well, I do want to lose games, but again, like I said during draft night, or we could just get a guy that I actually enjoy watching. That would also be fun.
Well, there's that.
Like, hey, this team makes the play.
Don't you enjoy watching Ayo Dosunmu?
I do like him. Yeah, I do. I like Kobe White. Yeah, I like them. They try hard and they're fun. They
try hard.
Yeah, I mean, they're never going to be like the lead guards of a championship team. I'm not going to match them up against Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown.
Can I interest you in some Josh Giddey?
God, no, absolutely not. That was like, I was like, man, I'm on vacation, good vibes, and I see Bulls have made a trade, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's get this thing started. And I'm like, Josh Giddey, out of everybody, that MFer, who just cost me $100 because for whatever reason I thought maybe he had a shot at most improved player this year instead.
Yeah,
thought maybe he was going to be out of the league.
He went the opposite direction.
Yeah, I'm not a Josh. I'm not a big fan of like anybody that you don't have to guard on the floor when you're pretty much playing 5-on-4. I don't care if he could rebound. I mean, I played his unders. I got rich off Josh Giddey almost, actually, in the playoffs. Remember the Josh Giddey
under 6 points?
No, I did the under points, rebounds, and assists, and I threw them all together.
The under triple-double parlay?
Yeah, so I guess at least that's the good part. Although in Chicago, he'll probably put up numbers because they don't have anybody else. He averaged 12 points per game in the regular season. He could probably...
They said, hey, Josh Giddey, you're going to be a bench player, and he was like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Said no, thank you.
I think it was probably time for a fresh start for that overall. And it was a fresh start probably for Dejounte Murray. It's going to happen with Brandon Ingram. Right now, though, from 20-1 to 15-1, we watch the Knicks have, right now, to this point, the most aggressive offseason with anybody. And it's really not even official, but we know this is how the NBA works. This stuff's agreed upon long before it actually becomes official. Is there any other team, East or West, doesn't matter, that you look at and you say, I think they could try to at least match what the Knicks did in terms of major aggression and spending money? And obviously they're retaining some guys too. It's really the Mikal Bridges trade that was the big deal, but somebody that may have the same mindset that the Knicks have already had?
Yeah, and I look at one team out west, the Sacramento Kings. You look at them in the situation that they're in right now. They got their taste of the playoffs year before this past season, and they liked it. They hadn't hit the playoffs in 17 years. They want to make sure that they are back there in that spot for the foreseeable future. They want to be that playoff team. And you look at what they've got right now, you can tell they're probably a piece short. Now, the West is extremely difficult. This is a brutal gauntlet to get through the West, but they've already been connected to guys like Zach LaVine. They've got a few pieces, specifically Harrison Barnes, a guy they're looking to upgrade from. I look at Sacramento, particularly with De'Aaron Fox, not agreeing to an extension with them just yet and wanting to see what they're going to do. I think Sacramento could be the next team to make a big move, whether it's Zach LaVine or somebody else. They've already had a good summer retaining Malik Monk, and now I think they could be in play to make the next big move and land another wing to help out this roster.
Trevor, the Chicago Bulls have been a team that I feel like has been delusional about their standing in the NBA, and now it feels like the vision is becoming a little bit clearer for them that they can't keep doing the things that they've been doing. I still don't understand though what it is that they're trying to do. Getting Josh Giddey and then Matas, who are similar players in the sense that they can't shoot. Can you help us understand what it is their vision is?
I wish I could. I wish I could. Nobody knows what the Bulls are doing at this point. We've been saying for a while now that they needed to move on. They had that brief period where they had Lonzo Ball was healthy and they looked like this exciting, fun team, and everything has just fallen apart since then. I'm worried that they're going to give too much money to DeMar DeRozan to stick around just in an attempt to stay in the play-in. They were rumored to have been offered a top 10 pick last year at the trade deadline and not take that for Alex Caruso instead, because they wanted to make the play-in, instead taking the deal for Josh Giddey this summer. I sure hope, and I know Bulls fans are ready for it too, that they do decide ultimately to fully commit to a rebuild, because it's what they need right now and it's what Bulls fans deserve. And you know what? This whole adage of, well, fans aren't going to be patient for something like that, they're not going to sit through it. No, NBA fans are smarter than that. They understand what it is that teams are looking to do. As long as there is a clear plan, as long as you can see what that end goal is, fans will buy in, fans will stay loyal. And that's what I think the Bulls need to do. They need to fully commit to the rebuild. That might mean a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan, send him somewhere else, and give this team a much brighter future. That's what the Bulls need to do.
Cub Swanson is like 40 years old. I think actually 40 years old on the undercard. He's fallen all the way to plus 205. You think he's got any chance?
I do. I like that one, Trysta. I do. I like that pick on Cub Swanson. Andre Feely, he is coming off a brutal knockout loss to Dan Ige. I mean, and Dan Ige does hit like a bomb when it hits you right on his head, but it was a really, really tough knockout that he suffered. Cub Swanson's live. He's one of these old guys in the UFC that just is around forever, because sometimes you'll see these stories of like a Tony Ferguson who just goes on like a 6-fight losing streak. Cub Swanson's like, he's like your 500 team right now. Like, he'll win one, he'll lose one, he'll win one, he'll lose one. If you get like the right class of guy in there, he's definitely a live dog and definitely can go get a win. So I like Cub Swanson on that one.
What's the best bet for the main event if you want to bet it?
It's gonna end in knockout. Everybody feels like these two guys going the distance is just impossible, because they're both really wild punchers. They both have a lot of power. If there was one wild bet that like you wanted to throw just some fun stuff on, I would probably go with Yuri Prochazka by submission, just because we've never really seen Pereira tested in any single way on the ground. Maybe a little bit with Izzy Adesanya, but Yuri had a lot of success in the last fight. I'm still picking Pereira to win, but he had a lot of success. The fight was stopped a little bit early. I think he had a success taking him to the ground at times, and I think he probably wishes, based on how the fight ended, that he probably stuck with that game plan. It's just he always gets caught up in, well, I'm this wild samurai guy. He's actually claimed that Alex Pereira is using witchcraft in all of his wins. It's been a very weird fight week. Yeah, it's been a very weird fight week with some of the claims that have gone on. But I like, as like just one out of the wild, I would say Prochazka by sub, which is about 9-1 right now. So that's probably like the what, if you're gonna just throw a little something and you could see it happening, that would be the way I would go. But I still think the most likely outcome is these guys will get in a wild exchange, and somehow Pereira is gonna hit that check left hook out of nowhere. He's gonna be staring at the lights, just because these guys can't help themselves. They're just two brawlers who love to make fun fights.